What's up? This is 36 Drew coming to you, N3O Clan representing. What we have here is a 2v2 VOD on New England. This will be from the perspective of France, and of course I'll be playing in the 1 o'clock position, while my partner, whose name is the letter B in handwriting, who you may know from playing games with, will be starting in the 12 o'clock position. Of course, opponents will be roughly in the 6 and 8 o'clock positions, respectively. One of the things here is, right off the bat, I actually don't have a close hunt on New England. My hunt is very far away. I don't start with it in my line of sight, which kind of sucks. Usually you start with that in your line of sight, and in fact on New England usually you start with 2 and sometimes even 3 hunts in your line of sight, so I wasn't too happy about that. So of course, since it's New England, you generally would go with a water deck that for sure at the very least has 2 caravels. Sometimes depending you might have one where you have improved warship and attack or range and hit points and all those lovely sorts of things. This map is personally one of my favorite maps. There are just so many things a guy can do on this map. A guy could abuse trading posts, a guy could abuse pond laming, a guy can abuse schooners on the sea, a guy can abuse walls and sit back and boom. There's just so many things a guy can do, which I think is why I really do enjoy this map. So early on, one of the things I was able to do was rescue a villager treasure, which made me feel a little bit better about having an early hunt that is so far away. And of course your first card is 3 villagers. Now in this VOD, and I think this is a pretty good game to watch, of course there's mistakes made by both sides, but it was really fun to play. And France and Otto versus Britain and German makes for an interesting matchup. And of course early on, just trying to scout, find out more about the map, more about where the hunts are, all these sorts of things, because that's gonna come in handy for raiding and so on. And I'm also trying to keep an eye on my scout. I've got a bad habit of losing him early in the game, and when he's in stealth mode he can come in really handy, and essentially oftentimes you can see exactly what your opponent is doing, and find out what exactly the unit combo they have, find out where their front base is, and so on and so on. Creep in on docks. Fortunately I should say, I'm able to keep him alive for the overwhelming majority of the game, at least probably for about the first 15 minutes, and he'll prove to come in handy for me. It's also actually nice to use to attack. I notice whenever I watch replays from Orc, he uses the scout and the explorer together, often to kill his opponent's explorer. That is mostly in 1v1 replays, but the concept still holds true for team replays. By the way, Orc, best luck with your matches in the Fan Patch tournament. Personally, I'm rooting for Chalet. Don't ask me why, just them. But so early on, we decide to place a front base over here. On this side, we talk about unit combos. We decide that we're going to go for Hussars and Abbas. Seems to be like a pretty good combo. And I ask him, what he's going to do. So he's going to go for ATP and try to abuse a trading post. He says yes, and then he reveals that he accidentally messed that up, and he played the 3 villager card first instead. But that's okay, whatever. I mean, it's just a game. During the transition, I actually make a point to, if I'm going for Hussars, always get a market up and go for placer mines and hunting dogs, because of course you're going to be gathering gold as well as food, and you're going to have very little wood. I do have a couple villagers on wood because I'm going to need to keep up with making houses, but generally it's just the hunting dogs and the placer mines, and I will get the gang saw wood upgrade fairly soon, but it's not as urgent as the other two. The other two are of course far more important, and the French eco, you just want to take advantage of that. And of course I'm there to gather my crates rather quickly. In this case, I personally like to send 3 Hussars as my first card, followed by 4 villagers. The reason for that is the early mass I just find is so important. If you end up having breathing room, it's okay to sit back, it seems, but the early mass, as long as you try to use it in one capacity or another, seems to be a good idea. Now there you see me changing my rally point in case I want to drop 2 caravels in the pond. Like that, it just has to be one of my most favorite things to do. It's just, I don't know if it's lame or not, but it's a lot of fun. I think everybody enjoys when it works for them and gets mad as hell when it doesn't work for them. When your opponent already has a dock up and like 2 towers there or something stupid like that. And I see them here trying to wall off early. Likely the British player here, what I'm thinking is probably getting a big amount of longbows behind that wall. I see, ooh, settler wagon, be a nice guy to kill, killing double the villagers. But of course, you do have to kill him for that to happen. And like he just gets it built fast enough, which is kind of a pain in the butt. And as I mentioned, my next card is 4 villagers. Get that economy rolling. Work on getting some market upgrades. And what I don't realize here, which is quite noobish of me, is I can actually run around that wall on the left side through the trees. And that's kind of frustrating. But, you know, that's pathing and that's the AI, and sometimes it works for you, sometimes it works against you. Meanwhile, we just start sieging this wall up front, and I'm just trying to keep my economy going. My hunt situation, again, isn't all that good. My herding is only so-so anyway. I wasn't really paying enough attention to it. I could have had, you know, these herds brought in right by my town center anyway, so, but, oh well, that's the way it goes. And there you see some longbows behind the wall, and ooh, look at one of my hussars starts finding a way to path around. Looks like that wall wasn't as good as we thought after all. And so naturally I try to follow. It doesn't seem like too bad of an idea, and then I follow, and there's like 15 Uhlans behind the wall, which is of course not cool, because early game Uhlan mass seems to always beat my hussars. You have to really be careful with that, I find anyway. And he's doing a good job of massing Abbas as well. So especially if there's any heavy infantry to show up, wouldn't expect any. But you know, they do a good job of owning that. There's my scout and stealth, who's gonna, you know, start to creep in and take a look at things and see what information we can divulge about the map. And I'm gonna start to look at getting some other market upgrades here soon. And I actually could have probably got some of them sooner than I did. Still don't have anything beyond the hunting dogs and placer mines at this point. As you can see though, my partner is going for the 4 trading posts now, which is great. And I see of course that they both got basically the usual German and the usual British decks. Nothing looks out of order or weird like that. You know, sometimes you'll notice the Grenadier Siege card or something like that that'll make me think twice about, you know, what's going to happen and what I'm going to do, and then so on and so on. And what I did right there, I actually should have just sent 1 villager to herd, bring that in closer before I walked 5 villagers across the map and started to lose a lot of villager seconds. And I'm actually feeling really uncomfortable about all those Uhlans over there and the possibility of raiding. So, of course, I'm going to decide to put up a wall, and a very big wall at that, before all is said and done. And, you know, I'm just going to try to go around backside here and raid. And my partner here suggests I put 2 caravels in the water. He couldn't have suggested a better thing, because that's just so fun to do. And he's going to follow me around there, which is nicely, because, you know, if those Uhlans show up and he's not covered, well, then he's really in trouble, and we're really in trouble. One of the things about the quality of this VOD, if you haven't downloaded it, if you do decide to download it, the quality is significantly better. It's recorded using Fraps recording software on a full-size screen setting at 80 frames per second. So, and actually relatively without lag, which is quite nice. That's about the highest I can put it in a 2v2 without lag. You know, in a 3v3 it's actually very hard to run Fraps in general without lag. Even if you have it on, say, half size and you're only running 40 frames per second, it's still very difficult. Of course, so I'm going to try to use the caravels here to, you know, take out that wall. And of course, when I run in my hussars and get them sieging that wall as well. One of the things actually that I did not too long ago on my mouse was I turned up the sensitivity of my mouse so that, you know, when I'm scrolling around like this, and I suppose it depends on how you play, but I use the keyboard a lot to scroll around and just move it around. I'm not using the mini-map box to toggle or anything like that. It's easier, it takes a little while to get used to the sensitivity at first, but it just seems to be easier to get, slide down the screen. Let's say you just see something of the corner of your eye. Let's say you just want to check out, what a treasure is. It seems to be advantageous to do that. And there I'm actually putting a tower up on the water, because, that'll really cause him grief if he decides he's going to drop 2 caravels in the pond also, or even if he's going to drop 2 in there and make a dock and make a 3rd one or something. And there I remember about my wall and how I'd like to continue to build that, because I have fearful visions of, like 50 Uhlans, 50 veteran Uhlans with cavalry combat coming in there and just ravaging both of our economies. So, yeah, you want to be getting those walls up, in my opinion. And their thoughts are obviously the same, because they're turtling behind some walls. So, and we're just gonna, we'd spent a lot of time actually sieging walls there, and oh, look at that, look who shows up in the pond. And meanwhile, I'm continuing to spam hussars, thinking about the possibility of aging right now and so on. He uses hot air balloon there to take a look. I have not seen anybody use hot air balloon in so long, and I don't know if that's a waste of a card or not. I kind of think that it is, personally. I mean, we end up winning the game, of course, but it kind of seems weird. I don't know. Whatever. I'll leave it at that. You guys can decide what you think. But I think it's kind of newbie. But not like I can say anything. Kind of newbie as well, but whatever. So anyway, as the game goes on, he's undoubtedly researched Stagecoach and has those 4 trading posts generating quite a number of resources. If I recall correctly, that each trading post with Stagecoach would be generating the equivalent of 2.5 villagers per second. So, that's like equivalent of 10 villagers to the Ottoman economy, which is quite fragile and, of course, based on the strength of its units rather than on the quality of its economy. So, and it'll be interesting how things like that are affected next patch with the church market changes and, settlers being delivered and so on and so on. And there, my teammate says that he is aging, which is nice because he can upgrade those abbas to veteran, and so on and so on. And of course, just kind of slowly working at that wall. Should have been quicker on that, but that's K2. And, here I need to age up pretty soon as well. I actually have done something here, and I'm not sure if it's a good choice or not, but I do it nonetheless. I haven't sent anything in the way of cavalry attack or hit points just yet, and in this case I'm actually sending economy theory, because I'm planning on getting 3 town centers up pretty quick and booming in the next age, which of course is age 3. So, and I'm sure we can all relate to the frustration of trying to place a bloody dock and the thing just doesn't want to place, and then you're not looking at your Uhlans or at your hussars, and you're not sure if like something bizarre like pikes are going to pop out there and you start to eat them away. You just don't know. So possibly suggestion for future patches and things like that is to try to work on that, but I don't know, that seems like that'd be pretty difficult to fix up. But anyway, I guess everybody has to deal with it, so, and that's not just me. And you'll see there actually that my teammate B starts to make a wall of his own there, and we're just gonna go back here. That's not really a fight that we can just straight up win. It kind of looks to me like if we ran in and we fought it, that both sides would end up losing the overwhelming majority of their armies. It's hard to say though without actually doing it. And there I actually send 5 hussars around. I see that Purple's villagers have crept up on a hunt, and I'm looking forward to being able to raid a little bit there, since I haven't been able to successfully do so much in this game. And you'll notice that one villager, he almost tries to set back to trick me, and so I quickly micro 2 hussars to stay back there, and I try to do the same here, just because he's going to for sure die. I don't need my whole group staying there. And I'm trying to repeat this process as I go through this and get as many villagers as I can killed. So, and I end up getting about 6 or something. And then I run in and I discover that there the Uhlans show up, and you want to get back and out of the way there. So, and continuing on the wall, of course. Don't bother with the other side, of course, because that's where the front base is. And you'll notice there that here I'm starting to grab some more upgrades. And he's starting to creep in well, and he's starting to bring cannons to the scene. And I, of course, have gone H3 now. One of the things is whenever you age, whatever unit you mass, you want to get the upgrade for it, the veteran status, right away. Most people know to do that, but sometimes people don't, and it's unbelievable what a difference those veteran upgrades can make in some of these situations. If I did not have the veteran upgrade, this status, this would for sure be differently. Would for sure, those Uhlans would be running over top of my Hussars, no problem. And you know what? They actually might have won that fight. But he's a little bit scared and a little bit concerned, maybe because I have the one Caravel in the pond also. But he elects to not run in immediately, which proves to be a good thing for me. And I'm just trying to hold him back. There's a few Janissaries there that he's popped into melee mode, but I mean that's his choice. And I don't feel right about that committed fight, so I do end up running back with some losses, but it's not like I've lost my whole Cav army. I hate it when I get in Cav versus Cav battles and I commit to the wrong fight and I end up losing the majority of my Cav. And of course there I get a second TC up, because France, really, you're just going to want to boom, especially in the next patch too. That's probably never going to change. That's just the design of France. And I actually shipped 2 Falcons. I want them to help me on that pond and kill those warships, and also at the front base. As well as they could actually take out that tower too, depending on if I'm able to use them correctly. And you'll notice I placed my one of my town centers there, that right there, that's my second, near the sea, and there's my third one, and I could have placed it more closely on the sea. I didn't, but partly, just so they can fire at ships on the sea. But I need to put up a couple docks there, and towers and so on, because they've got a good sea mass going on. That option is available to me. And of course I start to spam cuirassiers at this point. If there's any French people out there, I apologize. I probably mispronounced it in one capacity or another. I do not speak French. And of course, in the current state of affairs, if you hit H4 and you can upgrade them to gendarme, they just become tanks, and everybody knows that, and everybody knows that that's not quite balanced. But nonetheless, this game never makes it to H4, so that does not become a factor. And I actually get a church and an arsenal up there. I like to always get the church to research the line of sight. I really feel it's quite an advantage, and especially in team games, to be able to see, that extra 2 or that extra 4 line of sight. You just see so much more. And I also, with the arsenal, it is nice to have the cavalry HP upgrade card there, or not card, but tech. Again, you want to make your gendarme, your cuirassiers, your hussars as beastly as possible in this situation. And of course, my partner is continuing to make units. He's focusing basically on artillery-based units, anti-infantry, cannons, Abyss guns, those sorts of things. And here I send cavalry combat, which of course is very nice. And there he shows up with 5 Falcons, and in combination with my 2 Falcon shipment, which has just barely survived. And oh my god, look at who shows up at the back door. But like 50 Uhlans to compound things, and to make matters worse, I'm actually getting a phone call right now. My fiance is on the phone. Imagine that, 50 Uhlans show up at the back door, your fiance is on the phone, and you're expected to try to do something about it. Holy moly. I end up losing 12 villagers here, which of course is very, very, very concerning. He sees that I'm coming and he decides to get out of there. It is a good choice on him, because if I'm able to corner him there, he really is going to be in a lot of trouble. And he runs back onto a ship which I was almost able to actually siege with the fire of that town center. So that was almost a risky move on his behalf. The last thing you want is that ship to go down. And also the last thing you want is to get a phone call from your fiance in the middle of, having to having to figure out how to stop 50 Ulans coming in the back door. And so actually immediately I go there and I'm going to start putting up towers. And I thought about just walling it off because then he couldn't go for a landing. But the reason I went for towers was because if he comes back with that ship and he tries to do an amphibious landing again, and I have towers and I'm able to shoot him dead with all those Ulans in it, let's say he's got like 30, that costs 4,500 resources plus the cost of the caravel, so which is another 400. Conceivably he could suffer huge losses from that. And I put like 4 or 5 towers there or something. So I mean, that's just, you know, hopefully he comes back is what I'm thinking, and hopefully he tries to drop it there, and hopefully those towers become a factor, because, you know, that's a real pain in the butt. And they're like, I don't know what happens, but I sort of misclick my cuirassiers and hussars. I end up running backwards, and I'm like, God damn it. That's a real pain in the ass, especially because, you know, there's just so much vulnerable artillery there. Next I send the cavalry attack card. Of course I'm running off only the arsenal tech as well as cavalry combat. So, and there you see all those towers coming up. Looks like I built 5 there. I can't remember if the tower build limit is 7 or 8 because I have the 2 on the sea. So I'm either at or very close to that limit. And of course I have 3 town centers up, trying to boom with villagers as much as possible, because the longer this affair goes on, kind of the better I feel. I don't feel very good about going late game with an auto ally. I really don't. I don't think anybody does, just because generally they just can't keep up. But I mean, whatever. That's what you do. And there we have 7 Falcons, and he's got 2 Culverins there. But we're kind of deciding, do we go back, do we go forward, do we make some Culverins of our own? What do we do? It's kind of a tricky situation. So, and he's got to put a fort up there, which I actually got to commend him for. That was a pretty badass location to be putting a fort. That's really going to make it difficult for them to push, and really it's going to buy us time, and me especially, to continue to boom, continue to recover some of those villagers that I lost. You know, because once your economy gets 65, 70, 75, 80 vills and you're H4, you better watch out. That's just the way it goes. And there I'm just continuing with my 700 layers of wall. Nothing lame about that. Wink wink. At least, as far as I know, next patch they won't be providing line of sight, which is too bad because I really like to abuse that. But, oh well. As long as I'm not playing Eero or Aztec, which I sometimes do if the other player is, I'm not going to complain. I don't think I'm that lame. Anyway, so here we start engaging in this big battle here, and the artillery really making a nice difference. Really also helping when you get in these fights, you know, you usually get cards because there's a lot of experience, so long as you're at least coming out equal or on top of things. So able to get the cavalry HP card here, and really this push is it. They're going to basically be dead from this push. All those Falcons, those Abyss guns, he's got Culverins of his own. My cuirassiers are just getting stronger and stronger. They're going to call GG pretty quick here. Their wall is down, as far as I could tell, from a little bit of early scout movement. They don't have a ton on the sea. Neither player switched to Dragoons or anything, which are going to, you know, compound things, or War Wagons, of course, for the German player. And one of the players resigns there, and so does the other. And so that is good game. And of course here, I always like to take a look at the map, take a look at some of the graphs after the game, and you can see there was just some fishing boats there, not very many. As for awards, the Brit player actually gathered the most resources. I say I ended up killing the most units, but that's okay. There's military graph. One before that was resources gathered, and there you see that big villager loss by me when all those Ulans showed up at the back door. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'd like to thank everybody who's out there in a clan and who represents, because you got to keep on doing that. You got to keep this game alive. You got to keep representing the fan patches. You got to keep doing all those sorts of things that make this game what it is. Take care, guys. GG. Enjoy. 36Drew signing off.